There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. It's still Shabbat Shalom until we finish with this. I have a story for you tonight, and it should come as no surprise that it's going to be a Passover story because Passover is the Seder starts, the first Seder is actually next Saturday night. So this story is called The Perfect Seder. Okay. What a night, Rabbi Levi sighed happily as he settled down into his bed. He felt warm with his fluffy comforter, his huge pillow, and his perfectly clear conscience. Why did he have that clear conscience? Because he was sitting there remembering his perfect Passover Seder. In fact, it was his 85th Passover Seder. He knew the entire Haggadah by heart. He knew every law about the holiday, every practice, and every custom. Rabbi Levi smiled as he closed his eyes and pictured Elijah's cup on the table. He chuckled to himself as he remembered his great-grandchildren opening the door and not wanting to close it until Elijah came. And then Rabbi Levi fell asleep. At least he thought he had, when suddenly a gruff voice called out, "Good Yom Tov, happy holiday, Rabbi Levi, another fine Seder." Rabbi Levi immediately woke up alert, as if he'd been splashed by a bucket of cold water. He couldn't be dreaming, he said. He couldn't, because he recognized the person sitting at the edge of his bed. "Good Yom Tov to you, Elijah," Rabbi Levi announced, beside himself with pride. Imagine, his Seder was so good that the prophet Elijah came himself to congratulate him. "And as they say, next year in Jerusalem," said Rabbi Levi. Yes, Elijah answered, bending to adjust one of his sandals. "Next year in Jerusalem." His mouth crept into a smile. "Or at least in the house of Chaim the water carrier. I'm on my way to see him right now, actually. He's just about to begin his Seder, and I don't want to miss a thing." And then in a flash, Elijah was gone. Well, the next morning when Rabbi Levi woke up, he was thinking maybe he really shouldn't have had that fourth cup of wine. His head ached and he barely slept. Chaim the water carrier? Chaim the water carrier, he muttered all morning. What on earth did Elijah mean about Chaim the water carrier? Finally, Rabbi Levi couldn't take it anymore. He called all the students together and instructed them to search high and low for this mysterious man. If Chaim's Seder was better than mine, he reasoned, he must be a righteous tzaddik. He must be maybe one of the 36 righteous men in the world. Rabbi Levi jumped out of his chair and started pacing back and forth, back and forth. He must be one in a million. He tried to calm himself because he figured it would be in for a long wait. The great man would be hard to find because he'd never heard of him before. But only 10 minutes later, the students returned with none other than Chaim the water carrier, a thin, stooped man with only a few wispy hairs on the top of his head. It so happened that Chaim lived right next door to Rabbi Levi, although Rabbi Levi had never noticed him. "Oh, so you're Chaim the water carrier," said Rabbi Levi. "I've heard great things about you. Please tell me about your Seder. Don't leave out a single detail." My Seder?" Chaim repeated. Suddenly he fell to his knees, crying and kissing Rabbi Levi's hand. "Oh, please don't call the police. I swear I don't know how any of it got there. And I'll give back all the silver candlesticks and all the plates and things. I can't give back the food though, but because I ate it. I'm sorry, Rabbi Levi. I'm not a thief." "Relax, my friend," said Rabbi Levi, pulling the poor man off the floor and into a chair. "I'm not accusing you of anything. What food? What silver? Tell me what happened." "Well," Chaim said, his voice still quivering, I sure really intended to keep Passover faithfully. I really did. I knew that whiskey is not kosher for Passover, so I began my holiday by cleaning by drinking all the whiskey that was in my house. And I meant to have a Seder, but the whiskey must have made me really, really sleepy. And I fell asleep. And then around midnight, my wife finally poked me and said, "Hey, Chaim, why don't you wake up? Aren't we going to have a Seder like every other Jew in the world? So I said to her, but dear, I'm just a poor ignorant man. All I know is once we were slaves and God freed us. Chaim paused, looked at the spellbound faces of everyone around him and said, that's when it happened. When what happened? Rabbi Levi demanded. Chaim closed his eyes as if remembering what's the scene and said, suddenly the table was filled with food and wine and silver. Silver so shiny it made my eyes tear. Chaim looked at Rabbi Levi and said, of course I thought the whiskey was playing tricks, making my brain do things. So I said to my wife, is that real? Where did this come from? And she said, real or not, let's eat. So I listened to her because she's always been smarter than I am, but I swear I didn't steal those things. They just appeared. Rabbi Levi ignored his protest. But the Seder, surely you went on to follow every step of the Seder. You read every word of the Gade, he prompted. No, actually, said Chaim, I can't read. Well, Rabbi Levi's mouth fell open. Could this be the wrong Chaim the water carrier? Are you sure you didn't do anything else? Chaim thought for a moment. Well, after we ate, I did say, God, thank you for this wonderful feast. But as you know, we're still slaves. There is poverty and injustice all around us. You freed us back when we were Israelite slaves in Egypt. May you free us again. And then that's when a little old man wearing sandals walked in and said, amen. Chaim shook his head. Sandals? Oh, it's crazy. I'm sure you don't believe me. Rabbi Levi nodded as he sat back in his chair, remembering how Elijah had been in such a rush to get to Chaim's Seder. And now he knew why. Of the 14 steps of the Seder, of the hundreds of rituals, and the thousands of commentaries, of all those Passover details, Chaim knew only two things, that God had freed the Israelites from slavery and that the world still needed work. That was all, and that was enough. Anything else, Rabbi Levi asked Chaim? Well, I think I fell asleep again until your students came and brought me here. So tell me, am I going to be in any kind of trouble? Not at all, my friend, said Rabbi Levi. After 85 years, I feel like I too have woken up. Next year in Jerusalem, he said, or at least at your house. So that's a little bit of a reminder of the different parts of the Seder for those of us who get kind of like, about everything being perfect. We also should remember that we should have the spirit of the Seder and remembering our freedom and have that encourage us to help others who are still not free become free someday. So I will turn this over to Rabbi Barbara for Havdalah.
I'm trying to put the blessings in the chat, and when I put them there, I get almost all of them. So let me get Shavua Tov there as well before we start. It seems that the way I have it formatted, it's just a little bit too much for one entry to cut and paste. So it's taking me two.
I may be able to, if you give me a second, I've got
it all. It's just a question
that
Shavua Tov doesn't come through. So you'll get Eliyahu Hanavi twice because I wasn't sure if it was all there. And it's Shavua Tov that was missing from the first bunch. And I know I cut and pasted it, but it just seems to be more than it wants to take all in one time. So I hope that some of you have your candle and your wine or juice and your spices. As you were talking about Passover, somebody posted a question about someone who was allergic to grapes and wine and what can you do for drinking at the Seder. And the materials from most places say you should be drinking something that you will enjoy for the 4 cups. It doesn't have to be wine. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It doesn't have to be from grapes. You might not be able to say Bri Hagafen if you're concerned about what blessing, but you can raise a glass each time and remember all the different promises we remember as parts of the Seder. So next Saturday night, we won't be here together. Next Saturday night, we will be at Seder's. Some of you might be with me. If you don't have another Seder to come to, if you want to come and join me, you're welcome. Sylvia, I wanted to add something.
I can't find gluten-free matzah. I have matzah that's gluten-free, but it says not for Passover.
Well, Wegmans has a whole lot of them.
Gluten-free? Because
Gluten-free, that's
I'll have
tons
to
of
go
it.
there.
Tons of it.
Oh no, I got it at White, the Price Chopper.
Yeah,
White.
Wegmans, because I needed regular and I had trouble finding the regular. There was some gluten-free.
Sometimes it's hard. Stores don't realize which things are okay
I
for
was
Passover
at
and which
Wegmans.
things aren't.
Yeah, but these were
Little print
Passover.
At the bottom, it says not for Passover.
Some
They,
of the
they had the Yehuda, they had a couple of
Yes,
different
it's
brands of
Yehuda. I
gluten-free.
haven't.
well, they're saying that the material it's made out of might not really be okay unless you medically can't have the other matzah. So use the matzah that you have if you feel comfortable with it, and that's okay.
Okay.
Because you're not supposed to end up in pain or sick from the different elements of the Seder and of the observance of the holiday. So we are going to begin with the blessing over the wine or the juice. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. We continue with the spices, with something sweet, smelling, pleasant to us, to enjoy the aroma, the scent of it, to savor the sweetness of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol ben or l'choshech ben yom hashvi'i l'sheshet yemei hamaseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. You savor these last moments of Shabbat. We put our candles out in our fruit of the vine. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hakilati. Bimheira v'yameinu yavo eleinu. Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hakilati. The time we always sang that before we were all doing Havdalah together, of course, was Pesach at the Seder. I invite you all to unmute. And next week in the Haggadah, it talks about where you do Havdalah and how much of it you do to separate from Shabbat to Pesach, but we don't do all of it because, of course, it's still a holiday. So we sing together Shavua Tov to wish everyone a good week. Shavua Tov, 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 a good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. We wish one another a Shavua Tov, a good week, a healthy week, and enjoy the several days in a row we're going to have of sunlight and a taste of spring. Whether it stays or not, well, we're used to the fluctuation. But 1 week until we'll be sitting down at our tables to celebrate Passover. So I wish you all a good week and a good Pesach. We won't be here next week for Havdalah, but of course we'll be having our Seders. So we will say goodbye to those people on Facebook and wish you a Shavua Tov.